What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York here at Aftershock Festival, and today we are here with Alicia of the Cherry Bombs. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's so great to have you here. I've been watching so many videos of your performances, and it's just truly, truly exquisite. What I want to know is with your whole performance, was this like a preconceived vision of what you wanted the Cherry Bombs to be like, or did it kind of, what we're seeing in the performance, kind of just happen that way?
A little bit of both. I knew that when I first started it that I wanted it to be crazy and wild, and that I wanted everybody in the audience to watch us and be like, I can't do that. Like, I couldn't do that, you know? And that was always a goal from the get-go. And from the beginning, too, it wasn't necessarily about what the girls look like or anything like that. I just knew I wanted it to be feminine, powerful, and it was more about the talent and what they could do with their bodies, meaning like the athleticism and these different kinds of acts and physical abilities that they could do and pull out and push themselves to do. That was always the goal from the get-go. But then it kind of evolved into this more theatrical thing, and that's kind of where I'm sitting at with it right now, and I'm actually really happy with it right now. So it's kind of both. It's had a thing in mind, and it's evolved over time.
Theatrical is actually one of the words I would use to describe it, because does like the mindset or like the experience change depending on the setting that you're playing in? Like, you're playing at a festival right now, but like if you were to play in like a theater or something like that, would that be a different Cherry Bombs experience?
Yes. So at a festival, you know, we are constrained by time limits here. So, you know, the show that we actually have right now that we're touring with is called Macabre, and it's a storyline, and it's a full-fledged from beginning to end. Everything has a purpose, everything has intention, but it's a 75-minute show. And it really is, for lack of a better phrase, Broadway for metalheads, really. And so here at a festival, you know, we're at a 30-minute set or a 40-minute set, so we have to kind of condense things a little bit. The storyline would get lost in the mix once you start doing that, so it's not set to any kind of story tying from one piece to the other, but they are pieces from Macabre. So you just kind of smash them together and deliver kind of a punch of a performance. I hand select which pieces to go with.
Do you think that adds maybe a different type of meaning or different type of context than if we got the full Macabre performance?
I mean, really, it's like the sampler. It's like the sampler platter of Macabre. It's like a preview, if you will, I would say, but not so much context in the way of which pieces are tied together or why, I wouldn't say.
With the story of the Cherry Bombs, is this like, and with Macabre, is this like an extension of who you personally are? Or has the Cherry Bombs always been like an outlet to maybe portray somebody who may be outside of your element?
Cherry Bombs, well, with this particular show, it's really just me having fun and writing. I always kind of grew up writing and loved creative writing, and this kind of gave me an outlet to explore stories and tell stories, but in a different way than, say, through, you know, a song or lyrics or just words. We're telling a story through movement. And so this kind of lets me be able to have an imagination and run with it a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I love a little bit of danger. Who doesn't? And so I'm always pushing to test our limits and what we can be comfortable with and do safely. Safety third, right?
Right. I think in metal it's last.
Yeah, in metal it's fine. Yeah, and there's always a little bit of me in everything I would say that I create, because it comes from here and it comes from my heart and my head. And so, yeah, it's just a blast either way you look at it. I just have such a good time just creating things I never thought possible, maybe exploring new parts of me.
Speaking of the heart, though, and because, you know, fire is also an incredible element that's incorporated in here. And you know, to me, like, it's one thing to see like a Rammstein or a Kiss concert where they're using a lot of pyro, but you have such a unique use of fire where I feel like you let it breathe and grow. You expose the life that fire truly is. Is fire also maybe a metaphor of who you personally are? With
I have a ton of fire inside of me. I'm very fiery. I'm a very fiery person, I would say. Very passionate. But the fire you're right, it is different than pyro, because it's not just coming out of a box and exploding right in front of the audience. We are literally dancing with it. So we're dancing with it, we're manipulating it, we're playing with it, moving it. It is a much different relationship with fire than, say, you know, pushing a button and having it explode on the front of the stage, for sure.
Yeah.
But I love that. It's so calming. And we always say within our camp, when we perform fire, it's the time where we're all the most calm. We're the most calm, we're the most confident, and it's the time that we're the most comfortable too. So we just love it.
That's comfort through the unsettling aspect. Is
in the chaos.
That's really impressive. And
thank you.
Like, especially because not only is it a dangerous element, but it also is not very like I've watched Rammstein from like a mile away.
Right.
And their fire like burns.
They have a
like,
ton of fire.
There has to be almost kind of like a tolerance that you have to build up to as well, right?
Yes. So there's people who I just naturally gravitated to it. I just felt comfortable with it always. And there's people who just, avoid it and don't feel comfortable with it, and that's fine. And so those people don't perform on my group, but they do fire safety. But it's not unlike me. I'm afraid of heights, so I don't do aerial.
Okay.
And I just stay away from that.
Being also a writer, as you mentioned, with stories, is there room for your art to be open to interpretation as well, or do you want the viewer or the listener to kind of maybe see things from your point of view in a way?
Both. There are some pieces that I will create that are more direct, and it's like, yes, this is what it is, and I want that to convey. But there will be other pieces that can be a little more, subdued and ominous and a little mysterious, and let the viewer kind of connect the pieces for themselves, if you will. I know in Macabre I do little nuggets or Easter eggs in there, if you will, for things about folklore and mysticism and astrology and color theory and all these fun things. So I will add little tiny things in there throughout, and if you catch it, you catch it, and if you don't, that's okay too.
As an art school nerd, I could talk with you for hours.
Really?
I could talk to you for hours on color theory.
It's
cool.
We'll
get the viewers really excited on that.
It really has a science to it, right? With color,
yeah,
you really don't realize just the limitless amount of colors there are and what they can do to one another when they're placed next to each other or overlapping or This white background alone has more colors in it than just white. There's blue incorporated in there. Absolutely.
Yep, there's so much to incorporate. And that's another thing I thought about with Macabre. It is an art, but there is also seems to be a science and a philosophy involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Science, I love science. I think it's great. And plus when we're working with chemicals like fire anyway, or dynamic loads because of rigging, we have to do a lot of math. We have to do a lot of science. It doesn't seem like it, but we do. And I just love that. I love troubleshooting. I love problem solving. I love thinking of new ways we can do things using different chemicals or different load bearings. And it just kind of, the nerdy part of me takes over.
That's awesome. And I have two more questions for you, but for your writing, in order to get that inspiration for whatever it is, whether it will be through personal experiences, internal or external, do you have a usual place that you have to go to in order to cultivate ideas, or does inspiration strike when you least expect it?
I love brainstorm writing, just free writing. And so what I'll do is I'll hole myself up in my room and I'll turn all the lights off and my laptop's open and I just start typing, just jumble. It probably wouldn't make sense to you, but to me it's all my thoughts just pouring out. And it's ideas, keywords, certain things that I absolutely want to include at some point. Maybe it's not organized and it's not in chronological order. Or maybe it's music that I absolutely want to create too. And so I'll write down bands or songs or feelings, emotions that I want to convey in the piece at some point in time. And I just, it's like vomit onto the page, right? And then I step away from it for a minute and I come back and then I start organizing it in an order that would make sense to make a storyline. And that's kind of how I go about it. Yeah.
That's an extraordinary way of exploring it. It seems like inspiration is just always flowing one way or another.
It's all around us.
Yeah.
You just have to see it.
It's like
really.
Water. It's all around us.
It's all around us.
You may not even know it.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to go places or meet people so that's why I always encourage, go out, see as much as you can, talk to as many people as you can, hear people's stories. You just never know what's going to inspire you one day to create something really cool.
I couldn't agree with you more.
That's so cheesy, but it's so true.
Just because it's cheesy doesn't
so wholesome.
Just because something's cheesy or cliche doesn't mean it's false.
That's true.
Yep.
Touché.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is, because there is sort of like a choreography incorporated in Macabre and stuff, we're at a metal festival now, there's crowd interaction involved through a lot of the bands and whatnot. But, there's a lot of focus that's incorporated in your show. I could tell that you're really into what you do. Is there at all an element, though, where crowd participation or crowd interaction also is incorporated or plays a role?
That's kind of the unique thing about what we do, because it's not a concert where you have a singer on a microphone who's talking to the audience directly and saying, "Are you guys having a good time?" You know, I don't do that until the very end where I say thank you. But I wanted to include the audience throughout our full-length show. So what I did is I incorporated, like, it's a cheer. It's like everybody has their drinks, alcoholic or not, depending on what you partake in, and everybody comes together throughout the show, kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, where there's like callbacks in the movie.
Yes.
I did that with Macabre.
Oh my God.
So it brings everybody together throughout the show through certain times. And when you hear a certain sound, you guys all take your drink together and you take a sip.
That is amazing. And you know what? Now that you mention it, I never thought of this before, but really there is like a Rocky Horror Picture Show aspect behind it.
Yeah, it's very much like Rocky Horror Picture Show meets Cirque du Soleil meets Broadway meets ballet together.
Yeah.
Really.
And you know, you don't really need to talk to the audience to engage them either. Like we were talking about burlesque before. I mean, there's so much crowd participation in that just from the focus of it.
Yes.
And then not a single word is spoken by the dancers. So.
Right. Yeah, and if you've ever been to a ballet or another theatrical production like that, I mean, you're just silent the whole entire time until the very end, right? So, but we can still tell stories through our movement, through our bodies, through lighting, through wardrobe, costumes, songs. That's how we kind of talk to the audience, I would say.
Well, that's the best part about Macabre. The art completely speaks for itself.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Of course. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah. Is there just anything else with Macabre and the Cherry Bombs that you would like to promote?
Right now we're on tour with In This Moment, and we're doing a double duty each night. So we do our set, and then we also perform with Maria and In This Moment, the whole band, as her Blood Girls. So.
Wow.
Maria, called me about a month before tour started and said I would love to incorporate the Cherry Bombs into my show. Can you guys create stuff for me and do it with us every night on tour? And I said,
the show of blood and fire.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, like the Typo song.
Yep. Or Max Cavalera's influence of Debus, that ritual where they fry an egg on kids' heads.
Yep.
And there's, again, inspiration is
very
everywhere.
Cool. It is. It truly is.
Yeah. But that's awesome. And is there going to be other performances in the future, maybe after Macabre?
I've already written 2 other shows going forward. So when I get home from this tour, that's the first thing I'm going to hit is start working on the next one and formulating it out, and again, free writing and all those fun things, and picking music that I think fits. And I'm really excited about that. So next year, I would like to tour that show, and it'll be completely different. And just like Macabre, we'll shoot it in a cinematic style as well, so we can live stream that. And we shoot our shows like a movie. So you kind of get the movie version, the cinematic version, and then you can see it live, which is kind of like Disney on Ice.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
We've created a cool thing.
One thing music has over movies is that, you could listen to an album and see the band live, but you can't really see a reenactment of Spider-Man No Way Home in person.
Right, live in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's cool.
Yep. I can't wait to finally see this in person.
Thank you.
Yeah. But thank you so much.
It's going to be great.
Everybody, we are here with Cherry Bombs. Be sure to check out Macabre, and we will see you next time on Heavy New York.
Thank you.